Good day and welcome to another very special edition of the Weekly Chat with Kenny. And today I have an amazing guest, Vicky Fraser, or Vicky Quinn Fraser, I'll put it that way, who from a company called Moxie Books. Yeah, strange name, but goes with the person. So Vicky I met through Circle Networking, and I must say we hit it off very quickly. She's got a lot of energy and a lot of vibe and a lot of fun in what she does. So what does Vicky do? Vicky helps entrepreneurs, creatives, business owners, and my tongue twisted here, business owners write like they really need it so that they can make more money and have a bigger impact on people. So if you're battling to write blogs, write short stories, get connected with Vicky. We'll share her details with the post. She is amazing. So Vicky, I read your book. Okay, Don't Eat That Frog. And the moment I saw you wrote it and you shared it with me when we had our original chat, and it made sense to me because I'm one of those people who's always pushed the book. Okay, and credit to Brian Tracy, great book, Eat That Frog. However, now that I've read your book, and yes, I don't read books from front to back in a day in one go, and I did yours. Yes, it's a, what do you call it, maxi book, mini book, no, micro book.
Micro book.
Yeah. And I read it from start to finish. My wife was like, why? Okay, but anyway, brilliant book, saw a great different idea. And if you have ADHD or know someone with ADHD, easy book to read, simple, to hold my attention with my ADHD, well then, yeah, definitely. Vicky, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Kenny. It's great to be here.
Brilliant. Vicky, tell us a little bit about your background, where you got to, and why are you doing what you do? I think that's the big story here.
Okay, so I'm a writing coach. I'm a non-fiction writing coach and book coach. And it's been a really long journey from there. I mean, I guess I started writing probably as soon as I was reading before. I was one of those really annoying children that could read before they went to school. And I just spent my entire childhood buried in a book. Like, I found it really difficult to make friends. I found it really difficult. I don't understand social conventions. I find it really difficult to know the rules of people. And so I spent my whole childhood really in make-believe land. I was reading books, I made up games with the friends that I had at home, and my brother. We used to just kind of build dens and things. And so really from a very early age, I understood the power of books, the power of writing, the power of storytelling. It is literal magic. It is the closest we're ever going to get to real time travel. Like, we can read a book from 1,000 years ago and it can have an impact on us today, and we can read that book and and identify with the person who wrote it, and we can get into their heads and they can get into our heads, and that is the closest thing that I know of to magic. So the older I got, I just thought, I didn't really think I would be able to do that for a living, because I come from like quite a working class background, and you go to school, you go to college, you get married, you have children, you get a job, all of the things that you're supposed to do. I didn't really do any of those things, and definitely not in that order. But when I was growing up, I didn't think that it was, people who made money as writers, they were different people. That's not something that I could do. So long story short, I had a bunch of jobs, many jobs, which is an ADHD trait. It's like many different types of jobs, and eventually got fired, and just was like, you know what, I don't have anything else to do. I'm going to start my own business. Like, somebody had suggested, come and do some freelance copywriting, and I thought, well, I haven't got anything else to do, and I don't seem to do very well in jobs, so that's kind of where that started. But fast forward a few years, and I had been asked to ghostwrite books for people, and then people had asked me to teach them to write books. And so I just thought, this is what I'm here for. This is what I want to do. This is what I love. And the reason I love it so much, apart from all of the stuff that I've just said about magic and storytelling, is what you've just said. You just said that, and we were talking before this call started, that you read my book all in one and it spoke to you, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's made me think differently, it's made me want to do this. That is why I do what I do, because we can use books as a way to make a connection with people and to show people there are different ways of being in the world. And you mentioned the book Don't Eat That Frog, and like absolutely no shade to the dude who wrote that at all. It's a great book. I know it's really helpful advice for a lot of people. But the reason that I wrote Don't Eat the Frog is because that advice is terrible for me. Like for me, if you tell me to eat the frog first, I will do literally nothing all day, and then I will cry and I will beat myself up and I will feel terrible about it because I'll be like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I do this? I'm not working hard enough. I'm not good enough. I'm trash. I'm broken. All of that negative self-talk. And it took me a very, very long time and an ADHD diagnosis to realize that actually I'm not the problem here. It's not me. It's that advice, which is great for some people, doesn't suit me and people like me. And so I was like, well, what does? And it gave me that permission, if you like, to step outside of the bounds of what we're supposed to do and who we're supposed to be, and say, okay, well, how can I make my brain work for me? How can I do the things that I want to do without feeling like trash and without feeling that I'm broken? And I think one of the biggest problems that I have with that book and that message is not the book itself, it's the way that it is touted as the only way to do things. Like people are like, oh, you must do it this way. And it's just not true. And I wanted to write a book for writers like me who have really struggled with advice like that and be like, you know what, it doesn't have to be that way. You know, there are other ways to be in the world. And that, I think, is why I'm so passionate about this. Is like it shows a book shows people, and storytelling and writing show people another way of being that you might not necessarily know, because all we hear all the time are the loudest voices, the ones that shout loudest, the ones who say, you know, this is the way to do things. I'm going to stand here and I'm going to say, I know all of the things and you must listen to me. And, you know, it's not true. Like 99% of the time, there is no one right way to do things. So, so that is why I'm so passionate about people writing their stories and telling their truths, because it's important for other people to see that there are different ways of being.
And I can see, I mean, just the way you're talking, the amount of passion for what you do is huge. You know, and, you know, you touched on a very good point there, is what I took away from the book. I mean, yeah, I write the blogs and I get people to edit it 15 times because, yeah, my writing skills are the greatest. But what stood out for me, and it made so much sense, you know, working with different clients as a coach, not everybody works in the same way. And it's about understanding your client and your client's needs. And, you know, while I was reading your book, it was like, for me, it was like, oh yeah, okay, I get that. Okay, so that's why I do that. But at the same time, I started identifying with different clients of mine. Okay, hold on a second. That's maybe they should look at it in a different way. And yeah, I've already referred your books onto them, but it's breaking the boundaries, and that's what it is. You know, we are brought up, we go to school, go through the schooling system, and we get put into boxes, and we get told you're a brilliant child, or you're a dumb or stupid child, or you're a sports child, so we will help you through, or we get put into these damn boxes, and I hate boxes. Well, okay, so I don't hate boxes, but I hate putting people into boxes, okay? We should put events and things into boxes, tasks into boxes. That's something I've developed and introduced to a lot of my clients, is put things in boxes. You know, as a coach, working with so many different clients, if you don't put their things in boxes, you go insane, because then you've got 15 different problems or 30 different issues that you're trying to deal with at once. So I streamline everything I do with boxes, because it just makes sense. But in life, you cannot put people in boxes. The only time you put us in a box is when we go into a grave.
Love that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That should be it. I mean, we all think differently. I mean, you look now, I'm a business coach who helps companies financially, as well as marketing, as well as all their different aspects of their business. Yet I can't do traditional maths or accounting. Well, I couldn't do it at school. I got thrown out of school. I got stuck on the corridor, sitting outside of the classroom during the lessons, because that's what it was like. I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
But the moment I saw it in the real world and how it can work, suddenly I got it. And it's so simple. I mean, I can read financial statements and tell you exactly what's wrong with your business within a couple of minutes. Because I look at things differently. I was busy with a client. Was it a client? No. I was having a conversation with somebody and we were working something out. And she said to me, how did you work that out? So I said, because I work it out in tens. I count in tens. I don't count and work stuff out. It was percentages. I just convert everything into tens and it makes sense because that makes sense for me. And what I got out of your book was you were making sense for people. It's about breaking that traditional thinking and put it into real.
Yeah. And everything that you said about school is like, I could go on an extended rant about our school system if I wanted to, but it's like, it was developed in Victorian times to create people who could go to work in factories. That is literally what our school system was created for. And it does not, I'm probably going to get like pushback off teachers and stuff. And I'm not knocking teachers. They do an amazing job under difficult circumstances. And I'm sure they would rather do things differently, but we don't need that schooling system anymore. It's not fit for purpose because robots do those jobs now, as they should, because they're boring, menial, tasks that are difficult and horrible. And, so we should be preparing kids to be able to think about stuff and to be able to think differently and, to recognize that maybe that naughty child in the corner is not a naughty child. Actually, they're really bored. And, the idea of making small children sit for hours in a seat and sit still is ridiculous. Like, even for neurotypical children, that's ridiculous. Humans are not meant to sit still for hours and hours on end. We're just not. So yeah, the idea of like taking people out of those boxes and allowing them to look at actually what do I want to do and what do I want to be and how does my brain work and how do I best learn and what do I want to learn and how do we make it more interesting and fun for people is, like you said, like maths is really, I struggled with maths as well. It's a language that I just couldn't get to grips with, but and I count, like I do, like my husband always looks at the stuff that I do. It's like, how are you working that out? And I'm like, it's like, that's a really weird way of working it out. And I'm like, but the answer's right? So and so it's like allowing people to just kind of look at things differently and get to the conclusions differently. And I think writing is a really powerful way of being able to do that, because writing is thinking, and we get to, when we're kind of writing things out or talking things out, if we're dyslexic or whatever, is a really powerful way of figuring out who we are and how we want to do things. So I'm going to stop ranting about schools now.
So one of the ways that I write is I open the computer, put dictate on, and I just rabble off. And then I go back and I go clean it up, and then I pass it on to somebody else to clean it up for me. Because the moment I start with pick up a pen or piece of paper or type it on a computer, my brain works faster than my hands can. So I lose complete track of where I am. And I find a paragraph that's 5 lines long takes me 3 hours. But if I write something by dictating it, the next thing I know, I've got 3,000-4,000 words that I need to now cut back. But in the cleanup, you cut it back because sometimes I can ravel off in the wrong direction. But sometimes there's a meaning behind it, and it's almost an extra body that you're adding into what you were saying. And it's not the traditional way of being taught to write. It's not the traditional way of being. One of my clients works with my grandson. He's ADHD, and helping him with his English and his grammar and his taking the body of a story and putting it all into place. But she works with people like that, and she specializes in it. She's doing an amazing job with him. And I go like, oh my gosh, I wish I had somebody like that when I was at school. Instead of just getting red lines across everything and get told rewrite it and where's your grammar. And grammar is a thing that, so by the way, if you guys sign up with Vicky on her website, there's an amazing daily email, okay, she sends out. And I must say, Vicky, I read them every day. It's awesome. And was it yesterday or last week you spoke about grammar? And grammar has died. The grammar they teach you at school doesn't exist anymore. It has changed. When you look at the youngsters, because of social media and the cell phone, I remember when cell phones first came out, well, not when it first came out, but when my kids started having cell phones. They're in their early 30s now. And they started speaking a whole new language on the cell phones, which is now normal. you know.
Because you only had like 100 characters, so you had to be concise. And you know what? That's not even new. That is a return to an old way of doing things. You remember telegrams, you
Yes.
paid by the letter and by the word. And so text speak is not a new thing. It's really
It's, you know, the world changes around, and I mean now I've got even lazier. I just push the dictate button on the phone and I can send messages that way.
Do you know what though? That's not new either. And this is why I was thinking this is really funny, because everything kind of comes around, and you're saying that you know, you write in a way that isn't traditionally taught, and you're quite right. It's not traditionally taught, but in the old days, before we had computers or anything like that, writing was often done by dictation. Like people would have secretaries to, you know, they would take notes. And obviously you need to be a certain level of privilege and wealth to be able to do that. But my point is that it's like, if you struggle with writing, then don't try and write it by hand or by typing. It's like, we've got all of these tools at our disposal now that we don't have to be rich and powerful to have somebody taking dictation for us. You know, you can do exactly what you do and get your message out that way and then play with it later. So yeah, it's really interesting how we think things are new. And like we were, you know, sort of talk about grammar and language and stuff, and grammar changes all the time. Like try reading Chaucer, try reading Shakespeare. It's really hard work, and that is correct English. Like we're going to call that correct English. It changes. And you know, we talk about text speak, and I know that older people will often complain about how kids talk these days, and it's like, guys, shut up. This is how language changes and evolves, and it's not wrong. It's just different. It's a different language, and you know, it's evolved from a necessity that probably, ironically, today's kids won't remember, because they don't remember the days when you had to fit every text into like 100 characters or whatever. But that's where it came from. That's where the text speak came from. And now it's just like, how can we be really quick about things? So yeah, it's interesting how things change and how we need to be able to embrace that in order to A, stay relevant, and B, communicate effectively with different ages and different types of people, and C, just enjoy the way that things change and how they evolve, because it's really fascinating.
You just like sparked a memory now as well. I can hear my late mom saying, if it's not in the dictionary, it's not a word.
Yeah.
And I remember at one stage, a couple of years ago, we used to get these emails. I can't remember how it ever came out. It used to be articles, whatever. The following words have been added to the Oxford Dictionary. And like, how many people still use the Oxford Dictionary? I don't think anybody does. You know what I mean? Does it still exist? You know? But I know they use them at school and probably writers and stuff like that. But we learn words in such a different way now. You know, the more you read and the more you hear and the more you actually being present in conversations, you pick up language. So when somebody mentions a word that you don't know and you take note of it, even if you still don't understand it, but when you take note of it, it's amazing how often you'll hear the word.
Yeah.
You know, and you go like, but where have I been missing this word all along? And then out of curiosity, you go and figure, and before you know it, you start using it. And
Yeah.
I caught myself out recently with a word. And every time I started using it, I would pause and explain what the word meant, just in case that person on the other side didn't understand it either. You know, so it's weird how the language has changed and how we do stuff. That's weird. And I think that's the big thing is, and we are not made to follow the same processes as everybody. To get the best out of ourselves, we have to be open to learning in as many different ways as possible and being ourselves. And I think that's the big thing. You know, one of the big words at the moment is now I'm going blank. Authentic. Okay.
Yes.
Everybody's using it, but I'm going like, why have you just never been yourself before? And it's society, and it's about what other people expect you to be, and that's why that word has been smothered for so long.
Yeah.
I discovered that through my coaching business, where I wasn't allowed to just be myself, and I battled. But the moment I took those reins off and went completely on my own, I've become completely myself, and hence the success of my business, and hence the success of my clients. And, so that's the big thing, is just damn well be yourself. If nobody likes you, tough shit. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Because they're not meant to like you. They aren't meant to be in your world. They aren't meant to be in your space. People do business with people. People have relationships with people because there's a connection. There's something they have in common. There's something that they can share. And if that isn't there, then why are you even talking to each other? Why are you even connecting with each other? That's the way I look at it. And yeah, after our last meeting together, collaboration is the right word that we use nowadays. We hit it off, and straight away I said, let's do this, because I think a lot of people will learn from it.
Yeah, it was, and you're right. It's like putting yourself, and it's really it's a lot easier said than done for a lot of people as well. And it's because we are conditioned right from the very start to be, creativity is knocked out of us fairly early. Being, there's that whole saying about putting away childish things. No, I'm never going to put away childish things, because I think one of the reasons that successful people are often successful is that they keep that wonder about the world and that excitement about the world that a lot of people seem to just lose. And I find that really, really sad. And it's like, again, kind of the whole being yourself thing, it can be really difficult, especially we call it masking, when it's to do with being neurodivergent and stuff. So with autism and ADHD, it's like we spend a lot of energy trying to look normal, whatever normal is, and it's exhausting. Everybody does it to a certain extent, because we've got our work persona, we've got our home persona, we've got who we are with our parents, who we are with our children, and that does change, and of course it should, because you're never going to be the same person all the time. But this idea that we have to be like fitting into this box and this type of person, and it's damaging, it's exhausting, and it's going to make you a bland person as well, because like you're saying, it's like some people are not going to like you, and that's okay. Some people are going to love you, and if nobody ever has a strong opinion about you, then for me that is failure. It's like I would much rather a bunch of people absolutely hated my guts than nobody had any opinion about me at all. It's like that's nobody ever wants to. It's people on their deathbeds, their regret is never, I wish I'd done more work, or I wish I had been, not even I wish I'd been liked by more people, but like the top regret for people on their deathbeds is I wish I had had the courage to follow my own path and be who I wanted to be. And I think if we can do that, it's extremely powerful, not just for like living a more fulfilling life, but also for connecting with more people. Like you said, it's like connecting with more people, and being able to do that as well makes it easier to write. Because I know that, we were talking at the beginning, a lot of your clients and a lot of my clients find it really difficult to write the things that they want to write. And it's like they sit down to do their writing and this wall comes down and it's like, oh, now I must be this type of person. And it's such a barrier. And so if you can kind of get rid of that and start from a place of, well, what's my opinion on this? Like, what do I think about this? And like, that's literally where my book, Don't Eat the Frog, came from. Like, I was so angry about the way that advice had made me feel my whole life and not realizing it. That's literally why I wrote that book, is like, I am really pissed off about this. And so I'm going to write a whole book about it. And that's where that can come from, is like, what do you feel strongly about today? What makes you angry? What makes you delighted? Like, what do you want to share with people because you're so excited about it? And start from that point of view. And that then accomplishes the whole being yourself thing, but also gives you a place to write from that you actually care about. Because when we're just taking templates and prompts and the latest, oh, this is how we need to write for LinkedIn or whatever, it's like, of course it's going to be difficult to write because it's boring. And so if you come at it from, what do I really care about today, then you're going to A, want to write something, and B, you're going to write something really interesting.
I use voice notes and things like that as reminders for myself as well as a lot. And I've got a whole list of ideas that I want to talk about, and one day I'll get to all of them. It is that, you get that, why are people like this, or why do they do that? Or you go shopping, I mean, I was involved with retail aspects for 29 years. And so I've got this big thing about service in retail environments. because service in retail environments is just like gone, you know. It's like they're doing you a favor being there. You know, when I was in that industry, it was your client's king. You know, you lay out the red carpet when a client walks in because they pay your salary, they pay the income, they pay the keep the water and lights on, etc., etc. You go out of your way to help your clients. And then along came so you see, this is what happens. I go off in a range. Okay. Then came along the online shopping, and all businesses started paying attention to online. And then we got hit with COVID. So online became more prominent. And what happened to the retail outlets? They just like, oh, buy it online. I mean, right now you can go into big retail outlets and they have a whole range of products, okay, on display, only available online. And like you go like, I climbed in my car, I drove here. Now you're telling me I have to go on my phone in your store and just check what the price is and what it's about. Like, it's absolutely crazy. If I want something, I want to buy it. I mean, yes, you can deliver it from wherever, but at least let me purchase it in store. What happened to that? You know what I mean? I've made the effort. You see, this is my ideas come, and yeah, you've sparked me ideas to write it. And I'll start writing these things because you get this idea and you go off on a tangent on it, and then it's gone, and you forget about it. But I don't have to write it in the way people might like it.
Yeah. And the other bonus of doing it like that as well is like because so many people, like, it's good to have a good rant sometimes, just about, just have a rant, whatever. But like there's so many angry people on social media, and it's like soundbite, soundbite, soundbite. And it's like, oh, I hate this, I hate that. This makes me angry. It's like, okay, cool. Now go and write a thing about it, because if you go and write about what retailers like now, then it starts to spark more thoughts. Well, why is it like that? Why has that happened? What has changed? And then you can start to get to the bottom of like what's really going on. And so I always like to do that. One of the things I do every morning is my morning pages, and I will write at least 750 words and empty my brain onto the paper. And I'll be like, oh, like this person has really annoyed me, or this person has, or I'm angry about this. And it's like, well, why actually? What's going on there? And it's like, oh, okay, so they said this. Am I misreading it? Actually, am I reading too much into it? Like, what am I making? I've got a little post-it note on my laptop here that says, "What are you making that mean?" Which is really good advice. It's like, and so it's a way of interrogating kind of our thoughts and our reactions. And I think this is why I say writing is thinking, because it is. If I'm like, okay, well, I'm feeling some kind of a way about this. Why am I feeling some kind of a way about this? Like, what's it triggering in me? Where's that coming from? Is it really them, or is it me? Or is it a bit of both? Or why might they have said that? Have I done something to provoke that? Or, actually, are they talking about something else entirely? Or, why is this system this way? Why are people always so rude in retail? They're not always, and it's like, okay, because they're being paid shit money, because they're in a capitalistic system that doesn't treat people. And so you can start to kind of look at that whole thing and then build more empathy for the person on the other side. And I think that I think is where the real power of writing is like that empathy, that again, we're back to connection, human connection. It's like the person on the other side is a real person. They've got reasons for behaving the way they do, whether they're good reasons or bad reasons is, they're just reasons. And it's like, if we can understand that, then we can start to, instead of react, we can start to react with more empathy and respond with more empathy rather than react. And then, just build those human connections again that we seem to be losing because we're so bloody lonely, I guess.
I've got this habit of, after you've left the retail store, the teller on the way out, the cashier, whatever you call it, I make sure I say to them, have an amazing day, because nobody says that to them anymore. So it's not that they're so damn miserable. You know what I mean? Without offending anybody, okay? But that's reality, because they've got an unappreciated job, okay? And what you're saying is you've got to put all the aspects together. And that's what it is. That's what's building it, because those poor people go through, grumpy people coming through the cashier, bitching about the pricing, moaning about the service, moaning about the product that's not fresh or that's the wrong size in stock or whatever. They've got to take all that abuse, and yeah, they get paid minimum wage. And yes, they probably are treated like, the lowest of employees, etc. But they're still human beings, and people do business with people. And if that cashier is friendly and great, guess what? I will go back just because of that,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. People don't always get that. The big companies don't get it. So, and yeah, I've had a lot of rant and raves. You guys see them in my blogs and stuff that I've written about retailers and the way they are, etc. But I just want to go back a little bit to something you said, Nana, and it sparked off, the whole midlife crisis thing. Okay. So people get told all the way through life, you must go and do this, you must go do that, you must be like this, etc. And like good people, they follow the rules, they follow the guidelines. And then they get to a stage in their life where they start looking back at what they've achieved. And they start realizing, this is not what I wanted. This is not where I wanted to be. This is not what I want in my life. And hence, the whole midlife crisis starts happening. And they're trying to find what they really wanted to do. And you see, well, I suppose I retired at 46. But creativity was always my big thing, okay? And I managed to use creativity the whole way through my career. Because I studied art way back when. But I couldn't see myself as being the artist, but I found other ways to use my art in what I do. And even what I do today is about art. There's an artistic factor to it. And so, yeah, did I go through a midlife crisis? Maybe to some extent. But I did do a change of direction and started giving back for what I had. And I think that's where the change came in, because I've always been one of those people who wanted to help others, hence going through retail, helping other people. But I got to the point where I wasn't doing that anymore. Okay. When you're a director or operational director of a large company, you start losing touch with that giving back, because it becomes all just about numbers and this, that. So for me now, what I do, sorry, I'm diversing again. What I do, the reward for my clients is my creativity. My clients succeeding at what they're doing is attributed to my helping them through my creativity, on taking every client's challenge and being able to look at it in different directions, in different ways. And that's exactly the same thing if you think about it. It is okay to look at things differently. It's okay to challenge the norm. Because what I do, I challenge the norm of what everybody's doing. And that's just fun. That's
it's
necessary.
it's absolutely necessary as well, because otherwise nothing ever changes, and then societies die. And like taking back to the example of language again, and how language changes. Like a language that doesn't change is a dead language, like Latin hasn't changed in thousands of years because it's not spoken anymore. And that the same happens with everything. If it doesn't, if things don't change, they don't live. So yeah, the idea of like you using your creativity and your art with your clients, I absolutely love. And I would go further and argue for anyone who's listening, it's like everybody is creative. Like to be human is to be creative. That's what humanity is. Like we are creative creatures. We problem solve, we think about things. And so even the people who think they're the least creative people in the world, and again, this comes from school on what we're taught. It's like some people are creative, some people are not. No, everybody is. It's like if you're an engineer, you're solving problems. If you're a plumber, you're solving problems. If you are a road sweeper, you are still like people come up with new ideas and new ways to clean, to to teach, to do literally everything. And so this idea that some people are creative and some people are not, that idea needs to die, because it's not true. It's ridiculous, it's damaging, and it's simply false. So yeah, I love the fact that you brought your art into how you coach people, because that's why would you not? Like, why would you not?
Well, gets results. Yeah. I recently did, well, let's go this way. Okay, so now we're diversing, we're changing the topic a little bit again, but I think we do well together. Recently, I did the whole Clifton Strange thing, and it suddenly made so much sense to me. Okay, the whole way we're growing up, we're told, you're not good at that, you better work on it. Okay, you're not very talented here, you better go and work on it. Or you're useless at geography, best you go and study harder on geography. Okay. I mean, that's what it, and if we take writing, okay, so you aren't great at writing, best you go and learn how to write. But that's just to get through school. But we take that through the rest of our lives. Okay. Well, I'm not even good at that, so I'll just go and focus on it. I see business owners who, let's say they're not good at maths or accounting, and they spend hours working on their accounting and trying to understand it. Screw it. Hire somebody to do it for you. Focus on what you're really good at and be the best you are at what you are. You know, if you're good at being creative, just be creative in your business. You'll get growth. But yes, you do need to understand the other stuff, but you don't have to be the best at it. I see people who do their own marketing and they spend hours doing their own marketing. And I go like, why? The time you spent trying to figure out your own marketing, you could have been out there selling it. You know, pay somebody to do your marketing for you. Or if you're great at doing the design and the let's say the engineering side of your business, you don't have to go and market it. Hire somebody to go and market it for you. Yeah, and that's what people don't get. And because we are taught, go and work at what you're not good at, instead of, hey, you know what, you're really good at that, go and do it. Could you imagine a sportsman? Okay, we just had the Olympics, so let's take swimming. Okay, so you great all-rounder, great at swimming, but you're running, man, your running sucks. So best you go and spend the next 3 weeks just trying to do the 100 meters. What happened to the swimming power? What happened to that? You know, I mentioned this to somebody a while ago, and as bad as the communist system is, sometimes it's a good, because they identified with children their talents at a young age, and they take them through growing up on their talent. You know, yes, again, sometimes it's not what they wanted to do, but if we just balance things out, if somebody's really good at something, promote it. You know, don't just put people into a stream and say, well, that's where you are, and go and work at what you're not good at. I look at my grandson, and he's very good at maths, loves maths, good at history, but he's not great in languages. He's not great at that stuff. And a lot of it is because he battles to stay in communication with you. If there's not something holding his attention, well, guess what? He's gone. At games is brilliant. You know, he comes like he livens up when he's in a game mode, because it excites him. It gives him energy.
This is it. Make it fun. Like, help people to do all. And even if there are fundamentals, like everybody needs basic maths, and you know, everybody needs basic. It's like, make it fun though. Make it like relevant to real life, and people will be able to learn it better. And then, like you say, it's like, find out what people love, what they're good at, and encourage them to do that, instead of, you know, I think it's like, is a 1% gain on something that you're terrible at is nothing, but a 1% gain on something that you're really good at is going to make a big difference. Huge difference. So yeah, put the focus in the right.
I just had this flashback of when you said make learning fun. So I often say to people, you know how I learned my maths? I mean, I mentioned earlier on accounting 10th, was playing darts. Okay. I used to go to the pub with my ex-brother-in-law then, and with the soccer. I used to play soccer with the guys 6 to 7 years older than me. So I used to end up in the pub with him, and I was like 14, 15. So I used to do the scoring. And very quickly, you learned the numbers by working with 10s. 3 17s, okay, well, that's 3 17s, take away 3 9s, because that's the difference, or 3 3s, which is 9. Okay, so it's 16 minus 9. That gives you your answer. You know, that's how I worked it out, and that's how I started doing my maths. And I still use it today. And that's why I say I work in 10s, because it's as simple as that. But that's what, you know, multiplications, divisions, and whatever, that's how I work it out. So when you give me one of these long sums, or these sums, and then you ask for 50 answers, I kind of go like, what's the point? Here's the answer. Don't waste my time with me giving you 38 different points on why it needs to give me the same answer. And hence I used to have the problem with maths in school. Because don't waste my time. Here's your answer. What do you want me to go and do the other stuff? But that's life, and that's the way it is. Don't stop people from doing what they're good at. I mean, in actual fact, that's a highly good skill to be able to give an answer in mathematics like that.
Yeah.
Get punished for it.
Yeah, get told that you're cheating. You've obviously copied it from somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the teacher can't do it, therefore the pupil can't do it either. Yeah.
Yeah. I was told to become a mechanic, and anybody who knows me that would have been the biggest disaster anybody could ever have. Yeah. But, Vicky, how can we encourage more people to connect with you? And how do they reach you?
Oh, well, they can get on my email list, as you have kindly mentioned. I write an email pretty much every day, which sounds like a lot, but they're good, I promise. And you can go to moxiebooks.co.uk, and there are places to sign up for my emails there. I've got a page of freebies. There's 3 free things that you can get from me if you want to learn more about writing books, if you want to learn more about how I do all of my writing with ADHD, or maybe you just want to build a writing habit. So I've got a writing challenge on there, the 13-day writing challenge, and you write something little every day. So there's that. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can search for Vicky Quinn Fraser, where I post my shenanigans on LinkedIn as well. And I will happily connect with you there and have a chat. Yeah, I think those are the best places. And of course my books. So you can get Don't Eat the Frog from Amazon. I've also got a book called How the Hell Do You Write a Book, which is funnily enough about how to write a book. And I've got another couple of books as well, but they are my 2 main ones. So.
Vicky, this was awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll keep connecting and going along. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Kenny.
To all our listeners, yeah, like and subscribe, follow the weekly chat, or even best, if you want to be part of the weekly chats every week, let me know and we can get you signed in. Thank you very much.